Victor Stranges and Frank Apicella from Saturday's Child. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg.
The obvious question is, where did you two guys meet?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we met. Well, it's an interesting story, and we brought the cannoli and the coffee here to represent that as a metaphor for our relationship. But in about March 2021, we were at 30 Mil Studios, and we didn't know each other, but we met at that studio because Mark Opitz was producing Lip Stereo's debut EP, which is my son's band, so I was there. I just brought some cannoli along, and Frank's a buddy of Mark Opitz.
Yeah.
So, and Frank made the coffee, and it's just this, that's how we met. So it was the Italian connection as well, right, Frank?
Yeah, there was a certain synergy there. It's just something that it's probably written in stone somewhere back in time that Frank and Victor were meant to meet, and that time was there.
Yeah, because you both grew up in southern Italy, didn't you?
I'm from a little town called Casatori, which means House of Bulls, and which is close to Naples, and Victor's from Calabria. I don't know the name of the village, but
we're from Conflenti, which is the town. Well, the actual village is San Mazzeo Costa, and there's actually a town called Stranges named after us, which is next to us as well. But
I knew you were famous somewhere.
Yeah. There's about 10 people that live there, Frank. So,
in discussion, did you find that you had similar music tastes?
well, yeah, you go, Frank.
Well, yeah, it's ironic that I'm probably about 10 years older than Victor. So I the beauty of finding the music that I grew up with was more of looking for somewhere where I actually fitted in. Being an immigrant coming out to Australia, still not being able to sort of find my spot in the Australian society, feeling quite disfranchised. I discovered punk, and to me it was a calling, really, because all these people that I felt like that was what I felt like I belonged and felt part of, and meeting Victor and having the discussions, starting to, sort of suss each other out. It was amazing because, like, the language that I was speaking and the music that I was talking about was Victor's was pretty close to the same, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting. Frank mentions his migrant experience. I'd never even thought about it. But when we were young, we were all looking for a place to fit in. And so TV was our escape, and Countdown and Sounds, with Donny Sutherland and all that. And I used to watch all those bands play on there, and obviously got a bug for the drums. I think I might have mentioned it in another interview. I saw this band at St Gerard's Primary School called Trax. I don't know if it was the name of the band or that was the name of the logo on the drum kit, but I thought they were called Trax, Trax. And I just fell in love with the kit. So ever since then, I saw that. I thought I wanted to do that. And seeing all those bands playing everything, I wanted to be one of them. So my dad ended up buying me a drum kit, and which was quite interesting for an Italian because, migrant parents often don't invest in those sort of things. It's like, no, you don't need that. Your toys you don't need. No, you don't need chocolates. It was always go without. So when he actually bought a kit, I couldn't believe it. I'd hassled him enough. And but the connection with the music, not only is it a sort of our background migrant experience, it's also musically. I started playing in a punk band when I was 15, 16 called Drunk and Disorderly, and turns out that Frank knows all these bands that I knew that a lot of people just do not know, like Stiff Little Fingers and Generation X.
Generation X, yeah.
He's into the Clash and the Ramones and all that first wave punk. So we really. Yeah, it's funny because it just never happens that you meet someone that's into your favourite band that no one knows. So.
And it's also, I think that little bit of rebellious, anti-establishment sort of thing that really, there's so much commonality between the two of us that it's just uncanny, It's just something that was meant to be, I think. And hopefully, and we've always been working 24 hours a day. I know I haven't known Victor for that long, but the work ethics that we both have, and having the name Saturday's Child, which is from a poem, and Victor made me aware of. And Saturday's Child is actually a child that works every Saturday, and we're forever working. So
we actually wrote a song called Saturday's Child, I think, or Working Hard Like Saturday's Child. Hasn't actually come out or anything, but it's quite funny. But we also know it's from the Monkees as well. It's a song, a great song by that wonderful group from the 60s. So,
what's the goal for the project?
Well, the goal for the project is art for art's sake, really. Like we're just into music. Me and Frank love the studio environment and being together, feeding off each other. So, and it fits in with our label, Pop Preservation Society, which is, it's all about the song. So if the song's good, we want to be a part of that process and creating that song, creating a vision for that song, and just making it as great as we can. But just the experience, the richness of just being in a studio, is that being the moment. It's not selling millions of records or having millions of streams or whatever. That's all good, and that's nice to resonate with an audience. But first and foremost, it's creating that piece of art, which is the song. So if there's a song, I'm there, basically. If there's not a song, I'm not usually there. I just don't find it as interesting. But what about you, Frank? How would you?
Well, for me, apart from what Victor's just said, it's also the emotion and the power of music, the ability to be able to affect people with the music that we're going to try and put out, to touch people, whether it be spiritually, mentally, but also just like to give them some sort of an awakening, because that's what music did for me, and I'd like to pass that on. Yeah, as part of our project.
Yeah, that's a deeper aspect of the band, of why we do what we do. Yeah, the song is great, and a song can be just like a clanging cymbal. It doesn't mean anything unless there's some purpose behind it, some emotion, whether it's you call it love or whatever. But in everyone that we deal with, whether it's singers, I mean, we like to bring in people into our projects that, you know, might not be huge artists, but they're just extremely talented, whether they're videographers when we did our video shoot, or whether they're singers like Ema Jay.
The video shoot was just a sensation.
Yeah. So it's lifting those people up and helping them in their careers. We want to, I mean, we're a bunch of old dudes, really, when you think about it. We're not young, but we love to be involved in music projects, and we love to get others involved and lift up their careers as well too, being producers. But, you know, if there's no one else to...
I think we're young at heart, Victor.
We're young at heart, yeah. But if there's no one else to sing our songs, like, we'll sing them. We can do the whole lot. We do record all the instruments, produce, engineer, master, all that whole thing. But we like to involve other people because I think they can bring something to the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
You alluded to the single and the video. Let's talk about Cola.
Yeah.
How did the song come about?
No, the song's actually not our own song. It was written by Arlo Parks, and it's a wonderful song that someone at a record label brought to my attention, and thought this would be great to record. And so I sort of spoke to Frank, and Frank knew Ema Jay, and sort of pitched the song to her, and she wanted to do it, and it was just like, great, let's just get in the studio and do it. We hadn't even thought of the Saturday's Child project. It was more just, we love this song and we want to record it.
Yeah.
Wonder what it means to get this thing out, because it's something that I never do. I've had my own career, Victor Stranges, as a solo artist with my own band. It's always been me up front, so this is quite a unique diversion from what I'm doing, but I'm really enjoying it because there's this freedom in doing some other styles of music. So that's how it sort of came about. Would you agree with that, Frank?
Yeah, absolutely. But even the recording process, I mean, I'm originally from New South Wales, and I had my own recording studio up in New South Wales. I kicked my dad out of the garage, took over his garage, and built my own recording studio there. And
you had to move the salami, Frank.
The whole lot.
I had to do the same thing.
We even chucked out all these wine barrels out of the cellar because that was a little good reverb chamber. But the recording process for Cola, I just found so easy, and it was just an amazing process. After recording quite a few bands, I'd never felt so comfortable recording with Victor. It was just, let's get in there. We got in there. Most of the stuff was one take. Victor played all the instruments, the bass, the drums.
Yeah.
It just, the whole thing just gelled, you know. And it's, for me, I find that like a real magical moment when you actually get the result coming back out of those speakers. And it was just, it was a no-brainer.
I think because it was just a project that we just did for fun, and it's just like, oh, this is actually good. And we played it to Michael Matthews, our radio promotions guy, and he goes, "You got to put this out. This is really good. This deserves to go out." I'm like, okay. So then we thought, we better get a name. We better, have put a face to the name type thing.
Yeah.
And but we're actually first and foremost, I'm a songwriter, and so is Frank. So we just did a cover just for fun, but I don't think we'll be doing covers necessarily from here on in. That was just a bit of a diversion for just doing something. And
I think we're more sort of sussing each other out, really.
yeah, we're just kind of going, what do you reckon of this song? Yeah, okay, we'll try that. Ema Jay, yeah. And I'm kind of enjoying that aspect of, coming from a punk background of the Clash and the Sex Pistols and Elvis Costello and all that post-punk stuff, really getting into some of that, Massive Attack kind of stuff, or Amy Winehouse, just kind of a bit of a soul thing going on in there. Really enjoying that, and having the freedom to find other singers to interpret the songs is just great. Yeah.
Tell me about the gear that you used on the single.
Well, I got this old kit, this Pearl Export kit, believe it or not, that I've had since 1987 with Zildjian cymbals, and basically it's this big sound, but the way we did it, the way we recorded it, was just we just mic'd up the drums and just played the drums initially, and we captured that just with individual microphones, and I think it was SM57s that we used.
Yeah, SM57s.
I had a bass drum mic, and we had a couple of pencil mics just for condensers, and we captured that. But then one of the drum sounds, if you recall, Frank, there's that middle breakdown part where the drums just get dirty.
Yeah,
and I've always wondered how In Excess on The Swing, the album The Swing, there was a song called The Swing, how they got that dirty, really dirty thing. And I actually, speaking to Mark Opitz about it, he goes, they used a ball and biscuit mic. And I think it was Colin Wynn, the engineer, said they used a ball and biscuit mic. I didn't even know what that was. It was a specific microphone. But we discovered this process of, and I didn't know how to do this beforehand. It was as an engineer, because I'm not really an engineer. Frank's more of an engineer, and this is where we excel, because Frank sort of helps me with the vision of what I've got in my head, and he's got his own ideas. But we basically recorded the drum tracks, and then we double tracked it, and we put distortion and just compressed that second track and overlaid it on the other, and it just gave it this real organic drum feel and this real sort of hip hop feel. It's just like, wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, well, in the mixing of it, for me, my approach was that we had this Ema Jay with this soulful, innocent, honest, beautiful voice, and then we had this antagonistic drum. Because the plot of Kyla, the song itself, is a bad relationship between two people, where you have the loving, committed girl, and then you have the guy who's a bit of a player. So the drums are the sort of the beast of the song, and you have the vocal, which is the loving part of it, and somehow there's that fight going between the vocals and the drums, which I found really, really the heart of it all. So the song delivers that on those emotional levels as well. It was a very, it felt right. It all worked. No matter whatever we wanted to do, we didn't have to work too hard at it.
It just came out.
Yeah, it was perfect.
The other thing too, Greg, you asked about the instruments. We used a Fender Telecaster, and we used a Fender Precision bass. So it's just 3 instruments basically, and a vocal, and a backing vocal that Ema Jay did as well too. I think we had we overdubbed a cymbal, the ride cymbal.
Yeah, we did the ride.
We overdubbed that just to, so that was interesting. But in terms of the instruments that we use on that track, I just purchased a Gretsch Renown kit, which I might have mentioned to you. I think I mentioned to you before, Greg, and before this interview. And we're going to be using that moving forward. We've actually we're in discussions with a studio where we're going to be able to get access to a room permanently. We're going to rent it basically, and we're going to put this Gretsch Renown with Marzilgian cymbals in there, and we're going to record 70s style drums on a lot of our tracks and just mess around a bit. We're really looking at finding some different textures in the recording process. Well, one of the guys we're working with, Mark Scolo, who's doing some mixing work for me at the moment for another project. We're sort of in early discussions with him about working with him on the Saturday's Child project. We've sort of flagged it with him, but this interview will reveal that to him now.
Yeah.
I suppose you haven't really spoken to him, but I want to work with Mark because he knows Los Lobos album Kiko, and he knows the Latin Playboys and all these messed up backwards sounds and all that, and he loves hip hop and modern hip hop and all that. So he's really the perfect engineer to work with us. I mean, because Frank and I are engineers as well, but Mark's the young breed. He's fast. He's got his finger. He's got his own studio, and that's what he does full time.
Yeah. He's quick on the buttons.
He's quick on the buttons, and we're more there overseeing it, producing it, and playing the instruments and writing the songs. So, yeah, that's where it's sort of going forward. So we're pretty excited, and we're looking at increasing the output a lot in the next few months. So,
Do you have many other songs actually written or recorded?
I've got a buttload of songs that I've written. I've got a lot of songs in the can that we can either repurpose, and I mean, I write songs pretty quickly as well. So there's stuff that's already ready to go.
It's funny you say that, Greg. Like, I as well, I've got lyrics and songs that I wrote when I was 18, 19, and I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I opened up the folder again and was just going through some lyrics, and it's uncanny the meaning or the that time that I wrote those lyrics can transpose to today, and to me that's really something where I believe the longevity in a song is to be able to write something 2 decades ago or maybe 3 decades ago and bring them to today and still have relevance. So as far as songs goes, I think we've got, between Victor and myself, a fair amount of...
We've got a lot of songs. There's so many there, and we just will never get to them all. But there's some new ideas as well too that I'm looking at, and getting the Gretsch kit's been quite inspirational because there's some old drum patterns that I've never really recorded before that are really interesting. That'll be interesting for like a hip hop kind of project. It's not hip hop, but I just want to try some more rhythmic kind of soul type stuff, which will blend in really nicely.
Yeah, you're beautiful.
Do you think at any point you may play live shows as Saturday's Child?
I don't know. I mean, if you coax me enough, I might get up and do some backing vocals on something. But for me personally, I would rather see the people that we use to record present the songs. Sure, I mean, Victor probably... I don't know. Don't want to speak for you, Victor, but I'd say Victor would be more likely to play on stage than me. He's a great guitarist, great showman.
Frank stopped playing on stage a few years ago, so he's sort of more into the studio these days. And to be honest, I don't know whether I would be up there playing Saturday's Child music. I've got other live projects that I do, and it's just another thing that I've got to pull together. I just enjoy the freedom of the studio environment. Bit like the Beatles, like, you see interviews with John Lennon do you think the Beatles will ever get back together again? And it was like 1975 or something. He goes, sometimes George wants to get together and I don't, and Paul does and I don't, and then I do, and then Ringo does. And he goes, but if it was for getting back together, the only reason we get back together is just to record. That's all. We're not interested in the live thing. And so there's this sense where when you're in the studio, there's a lot of freedom. It's all green light zone. You can just record everything and then just take your time. There's no pressure. And, because we're independent artists, we own all our own assets and recording gear and this and that and pay for studio time. Like, we can take our time and do whatever we want to do. So there's the freedom. So to answer your question, wouldn't rule it out that we'd play live, but possibly not.
We might make a sneaky appearance somewhere.
You never know.
You have to watch out for us. But I do enjoy mixing live. That's one thing I really, really like.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
So you might see me behind the desk rather than on stage, more than likely. Yeah.
Cola is the current single for Saturday's Child. What's the next step?
We've been having some discussions about that. I think it's a matter of we've got a couple of songs that we've got in mind. I think it's just a matter of maybe just working out just some final arrangements on some songs and possibly identifying a vocalist that we could use for the song. Our next approach to it all. But once we've got that, and plus there's a lot going on in Victor's life with pop preservation. So allow him a bit of space to get all that done. It's just a matter of us getting that time to just sit down and nutting it through, do you think, Victor? Yeah.
We're involved in so many projects. This is just really an extra thing. So it's not like we're under the clock by another label wanting us to produce a single. So we're kind of a bit slower in our approach. But once we get into the next lot of recordings, which will start this side of Christmas, we're just organising a studio for that at the moment. So, expect something, possibly early in the year. But, we weren't even sure whether we were going to do anything after that first song because we thought once Michael Matthews told us we should get this out, and having some success overseas with the track, like in Europe, it's played on some mainstream radio stations there. It's getting played in the States, college radio and community radio, even some major radio stations overseas, a couple here and there. So it's like, that's a real encouragement. So not from Australia, but that's all right. We're working on that. Australia's really unique in that way. But so we didn't expect to sort of do a follow-up single. It wasn't on the radar like we'd planned, but now we're thinking, no, we'd like to do it and we feel motivated to do it. So expect something soon, yeah.
Well, Frank and Victor, it's been great to chat and thanks for joining us.
It's been great, Greg. Thanks you very
Greg.
much.
Ta.